Hello, everyone. This is Pod with Garrett L. Conan, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Paige Martindell today. Paige, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Excited.
Thank you. So Paige is the co-founder of the very popular Class Studios, opened in 2018, and was voted the best Dallas fitness studio in 2023 by ClassPass.
Yes, and it really has been such a journey. The fact that it's been almost 7 years. Yeah, it's been the best thing that's happened to me in my adult career.
That's amazing, and I can't wait to dive deeper into that and the why and the how and all the lessons along the way, the people that you've met and everything like that.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Let's do it.
To start off, your class mantra is your energy introduces you before you even speak.
Yeah. Honestly, that has been on the website under my bio since 2018, and I still stand by it. I think that you can walk into a room and you immediately know. I'm a very energetic, sensory person. I can tell if I'm going to vibe with somebody, especially in fitness instruction, like the way you walk into the room to teach a class, right? Like you can probably kind of vibe off of an instructor being like, oh, wow, they're carrying good energy, or whoa, they're a little bit sleepy. And that's okay. We all have our good days, our bad days, but I just love when somebody's really an energy lifter.
And as an instructor, that's pretty critical to the daily duties.
Oh my gosh, so critical.
Yeah.
And if we're not feeling it, you got to fake it.
Yes.
Fake it till you make it.
And when I met you at a coffee shop, I could instantly tell the energy. You haven't even had your coffee yet, but you were vibrant and bursting with energy.
Thanks.
So you could definitely tell that you exhibit that and you live by that day in and day out.
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah, that's the goal. And then something else that stood out was after I met you, it was your birthday shortly after that.
Yeah.
And you reposted what someone said, and I think it really characterizes you, and interested to dive a little deeper. And they said, this evening celebrating you was truly beyond. The way you love your people, spread light, and make people feel truly known is unreal. Your impact transcends space and time.
Oh my gosh. You reading that back, I was like, wow. Yeah, I really was sifting through those messages, and that I already know who wrote that, but I'm a Taurus, May birthday, and we love our birthdays, or maybe I'm just categorizing myself, but why I love my birthdays because I just get to bring my people together, and I don't feel like I get to see all of these amazing women that I love because we're always running so fast in different directions. So every year on my birthday, last year it was my 30th, and I took my friends to Costa Rica, and we did a trip in Costa Rica. And awesome. Then this past one, I did an intimate dinner at Chateau Le Sol, which I was telling you is this amazing space in Bishop Arts area. And we just sat around a candlelit dinner and had a meal together. And you just don't forget those moments when you actually get your core group of people from different places in your life too, right? I looked around and some were from my studio, some were from XYZ parts of my life. And I was like, man, I'm just so lucky to be surrounded by such amazing people.
Something stood out there, which was what she said was you make people feel truly known. How and why do you think she said that, and what do you do to make your friends feel that way? I think that's a very special attribute that people are looking for in terms of connecting, in terms of friendship, and in terms of really relating to other people.
Yeah, I love that question. I think this is one of the things, I don't know if you feel this, Garrett, but I feel like I'm on mission in certain things in my life. And I think one of those missions for me is people and being intentional with people. And I never want somebody who I'm in conversation with to feel like I'm not engaged or not interacting and not intentional. And I think for me, that goes really far with fitness instruction too, just because I have the blessings to be meeting and interacting with so many people all the time, that I have quite a big group of people around me, but the ones that I want to keep really close, we see each other so deeply, we know each other really deeply, and we're always fighting for each other no matter what the season looks like. So when my friends look at me and they're like, no, you know me, you know me, very few people in my life feel that deeply connected to me, but it's because I've let them in and they've let me in. And that's just it's a beautiful thing about friendship, right? If you're going to go deep, you're going to really know that person. There. And so the girls around the table, I know that I don't think many guys do this, but at a lot of female birthday dinners, they go around and they affirm the person whose birthday it is, which is like one of the sweetest things. And they literally started going around the circle, and I had like tears in my eyes, just like things that you don't get to hear, or affirmations, validations from people in your world that you don't hear often, right? Like we don't tell people I love you enough. And these girls were like pouring into me, and that's when one of them said like, I've just always felt really known by you. And I think that's the biggest compliment that I could receive, or that anyone can really receive, is they feel known in your presence. And I think that's just what I'm always going to strive for in friendship.
Totally agree. And I want to start there because not only do you have Class Studios in 2 locations, which is, a fitness brand and studio, but it really is a community.
Yeah.
I think that starts with the founder and co-founder, and how Class Studios resembles you and the way that you love your people. And when you go there, as I took a class there and felt quite special there. So what do you think separates Class Studios from other studios in the area and in the nation that you wanted to showcase?
Yeah. Class is number one. There's things that set us apart just physically, right? Like we offer multiple different types of formats of classes within one studio brand. And me and my business partner, Jasmine Zutter, who I love and adore, we've been on this journey together since the inception of the brand. We were like, hey, cross training is so important. We were cycle instructors and we knew we could open up a cycle studio, but we said, what can we do to offer the physical body a challenge in a different way? So our first location is cycle, and then the train class that you took, which is our high intensity interval training class. After that, studio was successful. After the first year and a half, we opened a second with different styles of workouts. And what I always tell somebody about class is if they come, try the other options, because their body will keep guessing in so many ways. It's just, we never want to get stagnant in our workout routines, right? And we can easily fall into doing the same exact thing every day. But when you really start switching it up, that's when you really see the differences, I think, both physically and mentally. And then outside of class being this like multi-formatted fitness studio, you kind of hinted at it, like people are the reason why we do it. I think some fitness studios you can walk in, walk out. It's very transactional. But we like want to know you, going back to feeling known. It's just part of the DNA of the brand. So we hope that you're meeting with friends, or meeting new friends, and then like walking out knowing somebody new.
You definitely get that vibe and everything when you attend.
Yeah.
And you personalize things. I don't want to give anything away because the surprises really adds to the experience.
Yeah.
But what is one kind of tradition or personalization that you love that you guys do the most?
This is hard. It's like picking a favorite kid, kind of. There's a lot of things that I love about the brand. And we weren't always really good at seeing people from the beginning. Like, I just want to own that when you're a new brand, you're just kind of figuring things out. But 6 years down the line, I want to share just like 2 things, because one's really small. At the beginning of every single class that you'll take with us, the instructor will probably say like, hey, turn around and like meet 2 to 3 people. And then like you can tell at the 5 a.m. classes, like, of course, like sleepy eyes. They're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just came here to get my workout in. But the second that you break the ice and you realize, oh, that person's going to be struggling physically just as much as me, the camaraderie becomes like next level. So just quick introductions mean a lot to us. But the biggest thing outside of that, again, I think it would just be our community events, like our birthday party and the things that we do, where this past year 450 people showed up to like celebrate Class Studio's 6th birthday. And
it's amazing.
It's just really amazing to see that the community wants to gather outside of the fitness classes themselves. And that's a testament to the team that surrounds me and the community. It's absolutely not just me. That would be crazy. But yeah, we've gotten really far in the past 6 years.
It kind of looking back as you're thinking about it, what comes to mind?
Oh my gosh. I mean, COVID, I don't even want to talk about it. I will talk about it. But I mean, I think every business owner in 2020 was like, what's going to happen? Like everything I've built, everything that I've worked for, like what is truly going to happen, especially in fitness, because it's sweaty. You're breathing super hard next to people. We never really thought that even when our doors opened that we would be able to get back to where we were before. And it took us almost 3.5, 4 years to like, even just numerically and like in data, see that we were back and stronger than we were before. But when the energy really started shifted of like, oh, it's finally in the past. So like that is one example of, in the past 6 years, there have been so many ups and downs, and every single time I learn from them, even when I don't want to learn from them. Yeah.
What was the biggest lesson learned during the 3 months? You guys were shut down for 3 months during COVID.
Yeah.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned during that time?
Pivoting is hard for someone like me. I always think that my Enneagram 3 personality type can be fluid, but it's not really. Like, I'm really led by structure. And when our doors closed and everything changed, we had to act very fast, because if we didn't get Class Studios digital, our digital format, up within a matter of 48 hours, people would have canceled their memberships, because a lot of people were being furloughed and didn't have income coming in. So we literally started a digital platform with like a Sony digital camera and a tripod and iPhone cameras very fast. Obviously then upgraded our system, audio and video. But I didn't know I was going to be a producer. I didn't know I was going to have to start like a full-on Vimeo channel. I don't love video editing. And I just started learning the things that I didn't know. And I looked around to my team at the time and I was like, we're really doing it. Like, who's letting us do this? We're really doing it. So we installed cameras in every room and pretty much went online immediately.
Good thing you did, because you thought it was going to be 2 weeks like many people, and it turned out to be 3 months. And luckily, you're in Dallas where it opened up, sooner. It could have been longer.
It still felt like, I would say even 3 months after we were open though, we were only allowed to have about a fourth capacity. So right now in our cycle studio, we have 53 bikes. So 53 people ride cycle classes together. At the time when we opened, it was 13 bikes, 6 feet apart. And it felt like a circus. You're like, I'm so far.
Circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're so far away from me. And it is about the energy in that room. You're kind of like dancing, grooving on bikes together. And so to have 13 people was just, I look back at the photos and I'm like, that felt like a dream. And I'm glad it's in the past. So.
Or a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think fever dream, is that what they say?
I see. There it is.
There it is.
And so 450 people show up to your 6-year anniversary. How have you been intentional about the community you've built? Are there any special things that you've done to surround yourself around other people that ignite this energy?
Yeah, in the studio and outside, I'll answer it both ways. Inside the studio, again, just nodding back to like really making sure that people feel connected in class and that they leave feeling connected. Like, as an instructor, we're allowed to reposition the room in some ways. Like if a member books a bike or books a mat, a treadmill, that they stay there, but our class pass users are kind of fluid. They can kind of be anywhere within the format. And sometimes I know, and I place people together that might have something in common. Like I just did this yesterday. 2 of my friends are early in their first trimesters and I put them together and they immediately texted me after and they're like, we have a due date that's 2 weeks apart. Like, how crazy. I'm like, I actually didn't know your babies were going to be born so close. But I think we go the extra mile as Class Studios instructors to make sure that people are connected. And obviously I'm sure some people have walked through the halls and left and said, good workout. And that's great too. But if you're looking for friendship, I think it's really hard to find adult friendship in healthy places. Outside of dating, bar scene, party scene, it's like, okay, we're at work and then we're at home and we go to decompress. So like the third space or the other space is probably going to be some sort of fitness or wellness space. And then outside of
and
just
then
like,
on that note, you put in what you get out.
Yeah,
and so,
totally.
Or you get out what you put in, I should say.
Yeah.
But you guys help facilitate that by asking a question of, hey, turn around and, introduce yourself. I'll make it okay to do that.
Yeah.
Even though some people are like, I don't know if it's 5 a.m.
Totally.
if I should talk to these people, or they're just trying to get their workout in, like you said.
Yeah.
So it helps that you remove that friction, and that helps facilitate these interactions.
Because it's crazy how many people want to talk to strangers, to other people, but they just don't know how. And I get that. Like, we're all just like literally on autopilot most of the time. But when you're like asked to, hey, meet a stranger, meet a neighbor, then it ends up just like removing a wall of, oh, we're all just human. We're all just trying to get a good workout in. And the best thing about getting a good workout in and maybe making a new friend is that you just feel more connected to the brand. And a lot of people have said that Class Studios has become a very safe space for them. They've literally ridden all the highs and the lowest lows. Like, we know a lot about each other. And that's kind of my prayer and my hope, that anybody that comes into the community, that if they, again, like what they put in, they're going to get out. If they really want to like create this fitness community around them, they will.
Well, certainly. And then outside of the studio?
Yeah, I think Jasmine and I especially, and I know for me, mentorship and menteeship is just really important to me, like gaining inspiration and access in my circles outside of the studio. And you and I were previously kind of talking about La Sole, Chateau La Sole, the places in Oak Cliff that I'm a member there, but I also just have a lot of friends that run different types of businesses, whether that be cafes, restaurants, online, clothing. And I've really honed in, especially in the female entrepreneurship area of Dallas, because even though we're not running businesses that look the same or might offer the same services or product, I'm learning so much from them. I mean, just get around people that want to like be bigger versions of themselves and you'll immediately be inspired. And so I just feel like if I can keep, somebody told me once that I was a hummingbird and I'll never let it go. It was actually an older yoga mentor of mine. She was like, Paige, hummingbirds are connectors. And I just feel like you connect people. And going back to even just like my two friends that were in their first trimester sitting next to each other, I feel fulfilled if I know I've made a connection that's helpful. And I already feel that in you and I see that in you. And so with staying connected and networking outside of the studio, it just makes class studios stronger. And I try not to be super insular about who I'm with. I really want to like keep my network and bubble growing.
Absolutely. And that obviously plays into the social aspect of it, both class studios, your own page and promoting that. How do you view your social media and the brand that you display online that way?
My personal brand or the Class Studios brand?
Oh, that's a good point. Class Studios, let's start off with, and then the personal.
Okay. Because I run the Instagram of Class Studios and then I run the Instagram of Paige Forrest. Forrest is my middle name. Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. How do you view the online brand? Like what's the objective and then how do you view it in terms of showcasing the brand to the external world?
I love that. The Class Studios brand, especially just like when you open up the Class Studios Instagram, it should feel fun and inclusive and inviting. That's the biggest thing that I want to do with all of our pages. It's our website, it's our social media, it's our newsletters. I recently hired 101 Media to kind of help me with social media just because delegation is key when the business is growing. And these girls get it. They said, hey, what's the mission for the Class Studios Instagram? To obviously highlight our offerings, like our class styles, to really highlight the variety of instructors that we have. We have 45 incredible humans from all over leading classes for us. And then I just really wanted to focus on like, what do classes feel like without being in the room? And so that's when we started really like taking video into consideration. We were very much like posting stories, and over the past 2 years, Instagram has become extremely video centric. So like, how do we capture a class without being in it? And I'm really proud of the Instagram. I'm proud of where it's gone. It's taken a while to get it there, but I mean, that's one of our biggest tools. So we just always want it to be like this online portfolio of inclusivity and fun.
That makes sense. Yeah. So how does sweating come across online? Because you guys promote sweating, you talk about it, it's okay, it's a good word.
Yeah.
And talk to me about why you promote that and as part of the language, and then how you go about and obviously displaying that.
Yeah. We all know once you get into a fitness routine that it's a game changer, right? Like sweating is a therapy. It is a form of release. It is the reason why I do what I do, because I believe that when you are pairing movement and music, like you're unstoppable. And I think that can sound extremely cliche and cheesy. You're like, this girl's full of it. Get in one of my cycle classes, get in one of my sculpt classes. I promise you'll feel better leaving. You'll literally be detoxing your body through sweat. But the endorphin rush, like that's why people work out. But group fitness is so special and so different than an individual workout. And I'm all for however somebody wants to move their body and work out, but group fitness will push you to levels that you don't think you can go to by yourself. And that's why our community is so special, because they're like, hey, I don't think I would have pushed myself that hard if I just went to the gym, hit some cardio, hit the weights, and then left. And so, yeah, the word sweat, or even like getting your sweat in, is extremely positive for Class Studios. That's like our dialogue. That's our language. And it's also just the way that we converse with one another. Like it's who we are.
Yeah. It's a fitness studio. If you're not sweating, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I think every single one of our classes, except this past year, in like October of last year, we introduced low intensity restoration classes, because I was seeing my clients just push. And I really learned a lot from studying yoga, and all of the things that I've been working on personally is let's bring in classes that are very restorative based for the mind and the soul. And so I was about to say you'll leave every single one of our class drenched in sweat, but that's not actually true anymore, which I think is healthy. Like as we grow, we should be okay with showing up to the yoga mat for a sound bath or a stretch class and be okay with not going like all the way.
As you're talking about this, it kind of clicked in my head is you're kind of a think tank for fitness.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that the people who should be members as well, you know, should be interested in, oh, what is Class Studios doing next, or what are they offering? Because this might be something that's research-based, or this might be better for my body. How do you think of yourselves as kind of a little think tank for fitness there?
I love that you said that, because we're actually releasing 2 new class styles this summer, like before fall. So you're already reading between the lines is us as the leaders and the instructors of the community. We're always wanting to push the brand forward and offer our clients even more, right? Like when you're buying a membership or a class package with us, we want you to know that you're also going to be excited about the offerings coming your way. I think anybody that stays still is just, you know, it's stagnant, right? Like we have to just keep dreaming and putting one foot in front of the other. And so we're releasing 2 new class styles. One is a dance sculpt class, like pure dance, like people just want to dance. I think especially men and women who were dancers in their youth, like don't get to dance unless they're going out. And so we are doing a full-on dance class. And then the other is called strength, and it's just a pure weights class. So no cardio, just lifting, basically personal training, but in a group. And that's also one of the things that we're heavily looking at, is especially the women that take our sculpt classes, our cycle classes. I just want to encourage them to lift heavier. I personally love lifting weights, but I think it's extremely intimidating. So we're releasing these new class styles, and I just love that as a local to Dallas brand, we can do that. We can keep creating. I don't have an overarching like brand identity or corporate that I have to ask questions. Like I am corporate and Jasmine's corporate, and we just get to keep pushing the brand forward. So that's the best part of it. It's like, oh, we want to create something. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I guess we are a think tank. So there's more to come always.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work, all right, you close a class, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Listen
Except they've all worked, thank God.
There you go.
Our class styles, we have 6 class styles right now. So for our 6th birthday, we were celebrating 6 class styles. We opened with just cycle and train, remember, in 2018. Then we added sculpt and tread, so our tread-based class and our heated Pilates class. That was just the 4 high-intensity formats that we were built off of. When we offered and we started extending the brand to be flow, which is yoga, and then restore, which are those like soft sound bath style classes, we have 6. So cycle, train, tread, sculpt, flow, restore. And they are like our kids. So we're going to launch Studio and Strength by August.
You're due pretty soon here for some
That's
twins.
scary. Maybe don't say that. Non-mom here. No, my business partner has actually had twins. And so we joke that she has 4 human babies and like 2 studio babies.
Yeah. So. Speaking of your business partner, you mentioned Jasmine, and talk to us about your roles at the company and how you complement each other.
Yeah. She had the vision for class through and through. I was only 23 when we were both teaching at the fitness studio that we met at. It was called The Ride House. It's since closed down. And she was managing the studio. So she was the one that taught me how to teach group fitness, especially indoor cycle, and just taught me so much about what it meant to be a fitness entrepreneur. She asked me to partner with her to create Class Studios. So I created the aesthetic, I created the logo, the branding. And at this time, I wasn't a co-owner. I was just her right-hand man. And we had our first very successful year, and she offered me ownership in the company. Again, I'm 24 years old at this time. And I'm like, I can't believe this is my life. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I step into it with confidence, knowing that Jasmine's asked me to do it. Like, you just have to be like, oh, I was asked, not him, not her. Like, it was me. So I kept running with Jazz, and I just learned so much from her. I still do, but we have gotten to this place where she's able to focus on her growing family, obviously is still the visionary of class, but I'm stepping into a bigger leadership role than I have before because priorities are shifting and changing. And I just can't thank her enough for, we call each other yin and yang, and what I'm great at, she might not be, and what she's amazing at, I don't have the skill set for. So we've just learned a lot and sharpened each other in the past few years because of that.
Which is exactly how co-founders and partners should be.
It's been a dream. I think I've seen friends start businesses with their best friends and it hasn't worked out so well. And Jazz and I are 7 years apart, and it just offers that perfect boundary of like, she's like, she calls me her little sister, but also calls me her work wife. Like, we have this dynamic of respect and of honor, but I will just I could never thank her enough for like the life that we've been able to create together. And I think that just goes, it's a perfect age gap, I think.
And I think as well as you mentioned it earlier, is her seeing in you something you kind of saw in yourself, but didn't fully maybe believe in.
Yeah.
I think that's so important for people to find talent and who have an eye for talent, 100%. But as well as, you know, they have to believe in themselves, and then you have to encourage them to take the jump and go for it.
Yeah. I say that all the time, that you got to have people in your world that see the gold in you. And I was, again, so early in my 20s that I didn't think that even being a co-owner of a fitness studio would have been possible even in the next 5 years. And again, it's like, man, if we can just truly see the gold in other people and pull it out and allow them to recognize that, that's when we grow so much. I love that.
And how do you do that?
I love seeing the potential in people. It's actually one of my favorite parts of my role at class is instructor recruitment. And so like just seeing somebody that has an eye or a knack for fitness, but really being like, hey, do you think you can teach this someday? And just recently I pulled in somebody who I knew was personal training, and they said, I love his energy. And I said, I can't wait to meet him. So I like truly just recruited this guy. He had just moved from California, moved back to Dallas, but hasn't been here in 10 years and was just, again, a PT. And so that's amazing, kind of one-on-one, small group personal training. But if I hear somebody has the energy and also loves fitness, I'm like, can we shape and mold this person into this like dynamic, magnetic group fitness instructor? And so, yeah, I don't know exactly how. I feel like that's just kind of that innate knowing of like, I just see something in you. And maybe not everyone has, I don't know, that gift, but I think it's really special. If you see it, you just have to say it. Like, don't hold it back. Even if I'm not recruiting somebody and I see somebody on the street, I actually love dishing out compliments. And I mean them. I truly do. Because it goes so far. If you call something out in somebody, they might not have seen it or might not have known it.
I totally agree. And they feel great.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like getting a compliment?
Yeah. It's the best.
So you guys develop talent. I feel like, I mean, I have no idea, but do many studios do that? I feel like many studios would just say, oh, you're good, let's place you. But you guys actually take an interest in seeing someone's potential and developing them as a coach and instructor?
Yeah, absolutely. I think brands do it differently. Some of the big national brands will like send potential candidates off to trainings, and they'll come back and they'll kind of integrate them into the schedule. Again, like you said, some coaches are like, when can you start? And they're like, I guess I'm going to sink or swim here. But class is very passionate about bringing everyone into the brand identity of what Class Studios means and is. And it doesn't mean that their raw talent is going to be shifted. It's just going to be improved. During our instructor trainings, I mean, I just led with my co-partner in cycle development. Her name is Lauren Watley Barr. She's amazing. We just led a group of 5 cycle instructors that came in with a lot of talent. And they probably thought, hey, I can be put on the schedule next week, but they were just hungry to learn. And I think we hire those that even if they've been in the industry for 8 or 9 years, they're still like, hey, I've got something to learn. And that is the biggest thing we look for is a coach coachable? Because if they're not, they might not fit in at class, just because we are always seeking to push people.
And evolve with new classes that they might be compatible for if they need to learn a couple of new techniques, 100%. Something like that.
Yeah.
So if you just say the top 3 characteristics of a phenomenal coach, what would they be?
Only 3.
Only 3.
Magnetic. It's like so hard because you want them to be so many things. Magnetic. Social, but social doesn't have to mean like bubbly or over the top. It's just like, I think the biggest thing about our coaches is, would you want to go hang out with them? Like, that's the kind of vibe our coaches, we want them to be, of course, somebody that is aspirational. That would be the other word, aspirational. Like, you want to be inspired by that person. Magnetic, you want them to draw you in and make you feel known, but then also can you just be with them too? And they don't have to necessarily be on the pedestal that you put them on. They can be. That's like how fitness instruction works. It's like, oh, I just like really want to be like him, or I really want to be like her. Those are the things that I would look for. There were so many other words I could say. Coachable, strong.
But I think that's a key distinction is, you want to be like them. They're on the pedestal, but they're still approachable. After 100%. Class, you talk to them. Hey, this is what I struggle with. Hey, was I doing this right? Or something like that, so that you want to improve as a member and as a participant.
Yeah, I never want somebody to feel like they can't talk to our people and our instructors. Because that at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Most certainly. And I doubt that happens with the people that you hire and know
They're all
your energy.
pretty cool humans.
Yeah, I could imagine there. What's been the most fun part about building class studios?
The people that I've gotten to build it with. And I know I've said the people a lot, and the people can mean so many different groups of people. Of course, there's our clients that I love so much, but like the actual leadership team of Class Studios, the women that I run with every day, Jazz and I were able to build this group of women that I pinch myself every day. I'm like, these are my best friends, and I also get to work with them. We also all bring something different to the table. And working with all women is interesting. Like that is I think is like one of the biggest blessings. And it's not like we're not hiring men to be a part of the Class Studios leadership team. It's just how it's worked out. So there's 6 of us now that are basically full-time with class that are owning all of the parts. But Jazz and I just started it with her and I. So to have going from like 2 to 3 to 4, now 6, there's so much confidence in the way things run, especially as we grow. But when you can look back and like truly want to be at work just for the people that you're with, that's a game changer. And I was like that at Fossil. I was a designer at Fossil before, and I loved the people I worked with, but it's not necessarily the people that I hung out with every day. And I do want to caveat, I don't hang out with my teammates at class every day. We have very healthy boundaries, but I would. Like whenever we travel for work, I love it. Yeah. So
that's great. What was the first full-time position you guys hired out?
Studio manager. So our studio manager was just going to be somebody that was very boots on the ground, that was head of communication for all clients. And that was Paige Martindell. And she's actually now our director of operations and HR. So she was very integrated into the daily like physical buildings. And now she is, we call her our glue. Like she's literally the one that like puts Jasmine and I together, but she also keeps our studios together. So she runs HR. I mean, we have almost 90 employees at class. So she is the HR representative for all things financial, where to go to for operations, for onboarding, offboarding.
That's a lot of people, and with that comes a lot of responsibility and tasks and fire drills. So
she has a huge job. Yeah,
I noticed a semblance between a name there.
I know her last name is Martindale, Dale, and mine is Martindell, Dell. And we didn't know each other before we moved to Dallas. Our families are not connected, but we call each other soul sisters because we're like we're here, and we have a very similar last name.
Too funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
Yeah. Small world there. That's cool.
I know.
What's been the most challenging part about building this?
I mean, I talked about the season of COVID. That was just like a slap in the face. I'm glad that's over because being out of your physical spaces is really tough. But I think one of the things about something like our business is boundaries and just knowing how to create them and when to create them, because Jasmine and I were so close when we started this thing. And I have always been running pretty hard and fast. In my career, it's like, when do you stop? And when can you respect the boundaries of the people that you work with? Because I will say that this group of 6 women that I'm talking about, our text thread can be going off until midnight, and then again at 4 a.m. when we wake up to open up the studios. But we have been a lot better in the past few years about creating boundaries, because if we're not resting, then we're not going as far as we could be going. And just respecting people's personal lives. Like, yes, of course, I just said I could hang out with them every day, but I think that healthy space is really necessary. But just being an entrepreneur, it's like, I just was with the owner of Go Easy today. She's a retail shop in Bishop Arts, and she was just saying, I haven't had a day off in 6 years. And I was like, I feel that I have gotten so much better about taking time off, but it's just hard when you care so much about your brand.
And you love what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband doesn't always get it. He doesn't work like I do. He thinks and wishes that I would rest, but I've just really reminded him over the almost 5 years we've been married, is like, I actually am fueled by my work. It makes me so happy, which is such a blessing to say. Not everyone gets to say that. So I just like hold that close.
I'm sure you do, which is wonderful to hear. And I agree. I wish more people were like that.
Yeah.
For those people that don't feel that way, what would you tell them or say to them?
I always told friends when they said, man, I wish I could do X full time because it's their biggest passion. I'm like, we'll do it on the side. Like, I've had quite a few side businesses that I've done. And just like, yes, the word side hustles, but also it doesn't have to make you money. Like just really like be cultivated in your hobby. I love photography. So of course I've made it into a business that's like just how I work. But I'm like, if you love to run or paint or anything that brings you joy, like create the pockets for it. And maybe it will turn into your full-time thing. I've had friends take on their side businesses and just make like an Etsy shop or just like find the business partner, like just taking the next steps and watching them create these beautiful businesses that have then created their full-time has been very cool. But if it's not going to be full-time, like just still do it on the side, because not everyone gets to wake up and want to run to their 9 to 5. I get that. I'm like one of, I'm the very small percentage, but we just have to be doing the things that cultivate joy and love, or we're going to burn out.
To add on to that, I think that it also provides energy for you. If you're doing something you love on the side, that's going to create this energetic flow, which hopefully will influence your 9 to 5 and you'll bring a better energy. And then as well, you never know who you'll meet.
100%. I
mean, just doing this podcast, the amazing people I've met, and then opportunities that have already occurred or future opportunities. It's just, like you said, you never know who you're going to meet, and what you put in, maybe something can get out of it.
Yeah. So. And like you said earlier, putting yourself out there, whether that is in your hobby, maybe your hobby is very like interpersonal. It's just like you're literally just painting or creating or whatever that looks like. But I mean, it's coming straight from me, which I know is silly, but like find a fitness community, and it doesn't have to be inside walls. Like if you want to go join a run club or you want to like go practice yoga in the park. I mean, I think moving your body is one of the best things that you can do. And if you just find whatever ways you want to move your body, you want to go join a climbing gym. If you find people that are doing that, it is like this like instant boost of serotonin and endorphins. And I think we just really need to have those people close, because those are the ones that are really going to push us forward. So get in a fitness community.
There it is.
Yeah.
Class Studios is a great option.
Come on in.
Yeah. But I totally agree, and so does Tony Robbins. I mean, there's a reason why his first thing he does is stretching and moves the body, and physiology is the key to the transformation.
Yeah.
The guy is research-based.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he is doing that.
Yeah, super aspirational. We love Tony.
We love Tony. In terms of instructing, you had mentioned on another podcast how, you have to show up for the members.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you put on the best smile, even though you might be faking a little bit.
Yeah.
But you recently said how it's okay to show up a little messier now. Can you talk about that transformation from, showing up and trying to be perfect to now what your kind of thought process is around that?
Yeah. When you are early in your career, perfection is just going to be what you're striving for, right? And that can be applicational to anybody. But when you're on a stage in front of 30, 40, 50 people, you're like, wow, I have to be perfect, right? They're expecting perfection. They're paying for this service. And after, oh my gosh, it's been almost like 9 years of leading group fitness, I have learned through and through that people just want to be with a human being. Of course, I still program my classes and I spend a lot of time on the playlist and I curate this experience. But if I can show up a little messy, as I've said before, then they're like, man, that's so much more relatable than to her feeling like she has to hide. And so I think when we're going through hardships, I maybe didn't talk about that on the mic before, or I didn't share some of my beliefs or passions, and I was just like this robotic fitness instructor. I've just found that I've gotten to go so much deeper, and my clientele has grown more because I've been able to touch more people and actually relate to more people. And that's the biggest thing that we share in our instructor training is, of course, curate the experience, show up prepared. You're not going to show up messy in terms of preparation, but you can be messy in your heart space. You can be messy in the way that you speak. If it's truly from the heart, then we want to hear it. So we're just not about building fitness robots, but actual humans.
I love that.
Yeah.
We are humans, and we all have flaws and imperfections.
And it just, as you get older, maybe you just trust that you're where you're supposed to be a little bit more. I mean, I was young 20s leading those who were in their 30s and 40s in fitness classes. So of course there's this, should I be here kind of thought process in your mind. But if you're called to it, you have to fully step into it. And then now that I've been in this game for almost a decade, I'm they know me, they trust me. Now I can just be silly and fun and drop an F-bomb, and they know my heart. So yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Which is also what people want via social media now is the authenticity. They want to relate to you, even if it is, hundreds of thousands of miles away or, the next neighborhood over.
Yeah, Instagram's been a blessing because I do run like my own personal Instagram, and it's separated from the class brand. I have, just as a graphic designer and as a creative, I do have very different like aesthetics for either one. But on my personal page, I've just loved connecting with people. It's been a fun journey. Sometimes I do brand collaborations. Sometimes I literally just post my class studio schedule and I'm like, hey, come take a class. But it's just been a really fun journey. And like you said, over the years of even having my personal Instagram and doing some projects there, it's just become more and more like, does this fit into my life? And can I just make it feel like very effortless? And if not, I'm not going to do it.
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah. We don't have time to, how do I say this in the way I want to say it? Like, we don't have time to do things that aren't going to either fuel us or fuel our communities. Like, I just feel like we get to be a little bit more picky now, especially if you've like built something underneath you that you really care about. So yeah,
there it is.
That's another topic for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned some sort of brand partnerships. You had a nice little staycation, and so yoga retreats and other trips. Talk to us about the opportunities that you've been able to go on through the social media and kind of the brand partnerships on that front.
Yeah, I love to travel. I love to sync up with brands that make sense. So I've always said this was, as Instagram was kind of growing over the past 5-6 years now, I don't do as much partnership work just because user-generated like UGC content is its own full industry, and it's a little bit overwhelming for somebody like me that doesn't have the full time to do that and content create. But as I was growing my platform a little bit, I always say, like, ask or you won't receive. Like, ask, just make the ask. So I would reach out to the brands that I wanted to partner with, and I brought them into the studio, whether it be like a beverage, electrolytes, like whatever that felt like. But if it felt conducive to class, I'd bring it into class, or I would just have it for the Paige Forest brand. I mean, it was as simple as my husband was stationed in Alaska for a little bit for the U.S. Navy. I was going up to visit, and there was this incredible like spa resort called Alyeska, and I literally found it, and I just reached out, and I was like, hey, I'm a content creator. I would love to stay. And they were like, of course, like, here's 4 nights. Like, all we want you to do is like capture what it would be like as somebody who's not from Alaska to be on this property. And I'm like, of course I can do that. I love to travel. I love to capture my trips. And it's just been really fun little like side expression for me, because to create for the Class Studios brand, again, is work, right? And it's work that I love. But to do it for the Paige Forest brand, it feels like that's just really me.
More freeing and creative, and you can kind of take it where you want, like you said, whatever you're feeling for that day or night.
And I don't have to then project maybe my personal beliefs or wants onto the business. Like, the business has to stay separate. But whether it be like travel or nutrition, I've done a lot of like food partnerships, restaurant collaborations lately. And that's just because I want to see certain brands succeed. And so sometimes it's even just a friend and they're like, hey, would you promote this or post this? And of course, if it's my people, gonna celebrate them.
And help support.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then in terms of Class Studios, and you already kind of talked to us about the 2 upcoming classes.
Yeah.
Anything else in the works, projects or initiatives that you're excited about?
Summers are kind of our time where we usually coast, to be honest, because we are so hard hitting through the school year. Like, a lot of our demographic are now parents. So we try to like really program heavily from like August all the way till May. And we do kind of take summers, because a lot of people travel during the summer too, right? Texas heat, that we usually just kind of have our baseline of like fantastic classes, and we don't do a lot extra. So of course, me launching 2 new class styles, us launching 2 new class styles this summer is kind of crazy to have put on our plate, but love a challenge. Outside of those 2 class styles, we just really want to continue to cultivate and like connect and develop our people. I've been in this state of growth and this growth mindset for the basically 6 years we've been open. And I think Jasmine and I could look eye to eye and be like, let's just really invest back in our people after these 2 new class styles launch. And then inevitably another door is going to open. People ask if we plan to open a 3rd and 4th location. As of right now, not yet. My dream was to kind of be all over nationwide. COVID changed that. I think just priorities have shifted within my life, Jasmine's life, and our team's life. And I'm like, man, if we're going to do something, I want to do it really well. And I would rather do it really well with the studios we have, with the 43 instructors we have, than to grow so fast and lose the heart of the brand. So there's always going to be something down the pipeline. We celebrate Pride really big. And there's just been like really amazing philanthropic partners we've gotten to have at Class Studios. That's one of the biggest things that I've loved to do, is make sure that we're investing back into the community. So
it's also what helps build the community, like you said, for your own membership, and they get to participate, give back, and do that align with other people who love the Class Studios brand and the other partnerships that you're working with.
Yeah, I think doing fitness for a cause is just one of the coolest things. You're like, oh, if I'm going to pay for this workout, but it's all going to go to whatever fund or whatever nonprofit, that's pretty cool. So those are some of my favorite things that we do.
There it is. And does the alter ego of Reese Witherspoon and Avicii come out during these?
The fact that you just dug through our bios is actually so fantastic. I just feel like people call me Reese all the time. They say I look like her. I mostly saw it when I was younger, but then the DJ Avicii is like literally my soul connector to music. If you don't know Avicii's music, this is your plug. R.I.P. Tim. We love him so much. Crazy life. But his music is so transcendent. Like everyone still knows Levels, right? Like you can be awoken from the dead from Levels. And I think that alter ego, we ask all of our instructors to put one down, because if they haven't met you yet, will they know that, do they want to take your class? And if you can think about like, hopefully the sweet essence of like a Reese Witherspoon with this like badass EDM DJ, I'm like, I hope I can live up to that. But
yeah, you cover a wide spectrum in that, but it definitely paints a picture. Yeah,
and if you go on our app or our website and you click through the other alter egos of the instructors, they make you laugh so hard. Every time I onboard a new instructor, I literally just ask for them to send me an alter ego, and I don't really give them boundaries. I'm just like, and every single time they hit it on the head. And I'm like, of course, I didn't even think about that for you or that for you. And it helps me get to know them even deeper than the training that we just went through.
Certainly, it paints the picture perfectly for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And helps, obviously, the people when they're choosing what classes, like you said, what instructors they want.
Totally.
In terms of content you consume, is there any lesson or business principle that stood out to you?
This one has just been like a standard of elimination in a way. Like the past few years, I feel like I've really just started to decrease what I consume. And I think we can all fall into the trap of scrolling and the black holes that we get into with social media or whatever we're on. I just unfollowed a lot of accounts and a lot of people. And I don't mean that in like a savage way. I just mean like we have to protect our energy and our space and our time. And if I haven't communicated with somebody from high school, like then I'm going to cut the ties there. Or like, I think there was just a lot of brands that were on my feed, or a lot of influencers, leaders, but I just felt like, man, I just have to like really hone in on the space of what I'm consuming. And it felt so good. I just deleted like 1,000 people that I followed. And now when I bring it up, it's like, okay, somebody that actually really inspires me. And I don't let myself follow a lot of people that I don't know. I think that just goes down to like, why like daydream or like shoot for these people that we don't know. Of course, I have a couple people like just like leaders and revolutionary like visionaries that I like love to follow that I probably will never meet. But I think we should just be. Oh my gosh, this one's
Who's a couple
hard.
comes to mind?
The two women that I look up to the most are actually the ones who I go on retreat with, who I have met, but they were like the thought leaders that I just looked up to so much. One of them is Danielle Mika Nagel, and now I do know her because I'm a student of her, but she worked for the Lululemon brand for 10, 15 years as like the head of philosophy. And I'm a Lululemon ambassador, and I think it's really, really important when you can mix how I've cultivated within class high intensity, but also like the heart work, the heart space, the yoga, the low intensity. And then there's another fitness studio owner. Her name's Jessie Dooley. She was like Forbes 30 under 30 and ran an amazing fitness studio in Portland and started these travel retreats. And I specifically and purposely signed up for one. We went to Patagonia last year, and I hugged her as if I've known her for years, but I've loved following her because she's a business owner, a mother, an entrepreneur, but like she doesn't give a shit. Like she will call it like it is, and she's extremely authentic. And those are the kind of women that I want to learn from, the ones who are just like unapologetically them. So Danielle and Jessie were like big thought leaders, but I'd have to think on the other ones. I really don't like amazing. Follow celebrities or anything. So,
and good for you for seeing these people and admiring them, but then saying, okay, well, how can I learn from them? How can I get connected, and making it happen?
Yeah, I was like, I have to meet them in the flesh.
There you did, and you did. Happen. So those other people that you'll think about, I'm sure you'll find a way to meet them someday.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes. Whether it's through this podcast, but apparently not, because you're not mentioning their names. So another time.
We'll throw it in like the excerpt section.
Exactly. Yeah. What's one of the most unique experiences you've had?
I actually really want to go back to that Patagonia trip that I just talked about. I plan to host retreats in my future, and I think retreats have been a big thing for me, whether it be a fitness retreat, a yoga retreat, a travel retreat. Getting out of your norm and experiencing something completely different is extremely healthy, both for your psyche and your body. But I went on this trip with Jessie, who I just mentioned. My husband and I flew down to Buenos Aires, and then we were in Patagonia in Argentina. That was one of those countries you're like so close to, like literally the end of the earth. You were at the very bottom by Antarctica. And I was like, I just need to get like far away to like, I love seeing the world. I love going to other countries, but that was on my bucket list forever. And like actually hiking towards the Paine, which is like the actual Patagonia logo. We were there for almost 2 weeks, and we like hiked glaciers and did really strenuous hikes, but then also connected with people that I've never met before from all over the world. And I'm such an advocate for leaping out of your box and going on retreats or trips. And there's a lot of travel like agencies popping up where you can just like sign up and go on trips. So if you've never been out of the country with a group of strangers, that's my tip for you, which sounds crazy. And I know that's a luxury that not everyone can like make happen financially or with PTO. But if you can kind of like wiggle that into your schedule, it's really going to change your life.
I think meeting people from other countries is one of my favorite things to do, because you have so much in common.
Yes.
But then your perspectives on certain things and work-life balance, or that, lack thereof in the US.
You go to Europe and you're like, I want to move here. Every single time I'm over there, I'm like, I want to move here. Yeah.
From that trip, was there one thing that stood out in how it impacted you or changed your behavior or thought process?
It was so kind of what we talked about earlier and what you said about like me knowing people and like seeing people. But I think I've learned that now that I'm like thinking back to it, like Jessie and her team at this like travel, it's called the Reckless Optimist. They plan these retreats. I think they see you. Like she didn't know me technically before that trip, but we spent almost a week and a half, 2 weeks together. And I remember, because she's a fitness studio owner, like we would have the extra like 5 to 10 minutes at breakfast or whatever the next thing was. And she'd like really spend time intentionally with me. And I left that trip being like, that's how it should feel if you're a host of something or retreat. And I'm not saying that she's doing it just in her like hosting mentality. I think that's just how she lives her life. It was just extremely inspirational to be around. And I left the trip not only getting to have gone to these like amazing places, but also feeling like, man, I feel like I just made like a lifelong friend, but also a mentor. Like now she calls me her little sis and I call her my big sis. And I'm like, wow, if I can be where you are at 40, I will be extremely happy. And so, yeah, I guess I'm not much of like a tangible gal. I just like really feel like I left with the sense of being known, and that's why I'm going to Bali with her this year. We're going to Bali.
There you go. Yeah. That's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
But I think that also, you just said you want to host retreats. I mean, I'm sure before that trip you were interested, but you probably solidified your interest based upon your experience of being with her and that group and how she guided everyone and everything like that.
100%. You have to be able to like really experience something. I think I learned by doing to then give it back. And of course I'm going to like put my own spin on things, but I can't wait to just have a group of people. It'll be in Mexico next year, just to like come, be able to like press pause on their life in a healthy way, really dive in, have an amazing workout every day, multiple times a day, and then go back feeling refreshed. Yeah.
It's going to be quite a trip. Please, please. What's something you have eliminated from your life that's made the biggest impact?
Ooh, mic drop. Anything that's conflicting energetically or morality wise, I just like don't have time for. But I mean that with grace. So my pastor said it so well once, and she said sometimes you will feel like you're linked arms with a friend or you're carrying them on your back, and it's okay to set them down if you're going to keep climbing the mountain. And I think I needed that word to be like, not every friendship is going to serve every season, and that's okay. Like, I think letting go of friendships is extremely hard for me just because I dive deep into them. But to hear somebody be like, hey, if you're going in one direction and you're really trying to keep refining yourself, maybe not everyone fits into that, and lovingly, like kind of like undoing the link or setting them down and like keep climbing in the direction that you're feeling called to is really important. And to know that it's okay that every friendship or every person you make that you have a connection with is not going to be like with you till the end. And so some friendships are just for a season.
Especially when you have very ambitious and on a mission like yourself, where you really need all the strength you can and the people surrounding you to really help elevate you and you elevate them so you can continue helping other people. Yeah.
And another friend I was kind of talking with about that, she then like just busted out a quote that friendships are either for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And I think we can feel the lifetime ones, right? Like we just know. And then the reason one, that one like hit me hard because it felt like a knife. And I was like, ooh, like the friendships that are for a reason. But then some are also just seasonal. And that can be really sweet in just one season. And I feel like you could probably look back and be like, yeah, like I actually don't talk to him or her anymore, but that was such a great season we had.
Most certainly. And sometimes, unfortunately, it has to do with location.
Yeah.
You know, I've traveled around a little bit, and so that can happen.
Yeah.
But you never know when you might reconnect, and then it might become lifelong. Who knows?
Love that.
Who's had the biggest influence on you that's not a family member, and why?
I was just about to say my sisters. Adore them, love them. I've talked about Jasmine a lot, but I mean, I think inevitably is one of those people. But the other that I would say would be Danielle, and she's the one that is my yoga mentor that I spoke about before, Jessie. I'm actually going to be with her in 2 weeks on retreat. She's the one that I like kind of make sure I plug into every year. She spent a lot of time with Lululemon, which is such an amazing brand for just personal development in general. But the way she delivers it is one of my most favorite ways of delivery. And like somebody can go to a Tony Robbins conference and of course their life can be like encouraged and changed. She's kind of like a Tony Robbins to me, just not as intense. She loves well, but she's extremely wise in both business and just personal development and in yoga. And I'm kind of on the journey of increasing my yoga knowledge. So to have somebody who you look at and you want to become, but also know that you can become your own version of them without losing yourself is just like very empowering. So I just had a call with her and I was like, Danielle, I think it's time for me to start leading my own retreats because I've been going on hers for 5 years now. And she was like, I'm so excited for you. And for her to just know like, oh, I'm passing a little bit of the torch because you've been able to learn from me. Now it's your time to like go. Having that sense of permission from her was kind of like, it sealed the deal. And I think we should all have mentors that we look up to and we're like, hey, if I can just take a piece of you and implement that into my own life, I'll be better for it. And so I truly hope everyone has somebody above them that does feel tangible, that they have been able to meet or at least connect with, that they're being poured into from, because we all have to be like being poured into and then being poured out to somebody beneath us or younger than us. It's kind of how that all works.
That's beautiful, and excited for you for that trip, and then you'll be hosting soon. Yeah. But I think it's also important because you can't just sit behind a screen and wish, like we talked about. Yeah. You made it happen. Yeah. Yeah. So people out there, if they want something, they gotta take the steps to put themselves in the right room, in the right place to create that relationship. Yeah. You know, it's not just gonna be given to you, but you can pray about it, manifest, visualize. All these things help, but you still got to put in some action. Yeah. I talk about that in my classes all the time, that you have to be a participant in your own life. And I think it's so beautiful to dream and to pray and to manifest. But I have been the kind of person that I'm like, man, what's the one step in front of the next? What's the next step? What's the next goal? And you just truly have to keep like chipping away. And of course there's going to be setbacks, but then there's going to be people that fall into place that are able to push you forward. And man, I just like love being in the room with people that are going places. It's so inspiring. So thanks for having me here. Yeah, of course. Thank you. No, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Yeah. Yeah. And looking forward to these future classes and continuing. I'm curious kind of personally. So I'm not very rhythmically talented. So dancing, I could kind of do dancing, but the bikes and moving to the music, challenging.
Yes, very challenging. But you've got to do, I say like you feel like Bambi for the first 10 classes. After that, you're going to get a hang of it. Like you're going to get the hang of it. And even if somebody's like, no, I don't hear rhythm. I truly believe that after 10 classes, then you can like make the call, even 5 to 10. But the first few.
Thanks for correcting that to 5 to 10. Thank you. I was like,
I'm just giving somebody a little bit more grace. My husband takes it on like the half beat, meaning he goes slower. He like adds resistance to his wheel, and he would rather like go slower, like really build up his legs versus like the really fast cardio that I do or that we do at class. And that's great. That room is for everyone. That room is for everyone. And I want to make sure that they know that all of our rooms are for everyone. I think fitness is so scary sometimes, especially group fitness. People are like, I have to get in shape before I go to class. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, just come, be a part of the energy. And if your feet don't move and your body doesn't move the exact pace, that's okay. It's actually really dark for a reason. I think that the third row and like what we call our party corners, which is like the corners where the bikes are, you get to kind of be in your own world. Like you are not in the spotlight, because some people like to get lost in it and just like really be able to, just kind of feel like they're separate from it. And then some people die to be in the front row. They're like, that is my bike and I will perform.
Well, I can't wait to put in a special request for that dark corner and be in my own world.
And then I'll move you right up front.
No, exactly. At the 6th one, we could do that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then what's an investment you made in yourself and how it has impacted you?
An investment in myself. Very, very physically and tangibly, I got a cold plunge last year and I love it. So the brand is Mod Tub and they're local to Dallas. They're two brothers that started it. I was so skeptical. I was like, okay, I do fitness. I like eat well, but I hate being cold. I absolutely hate it. And I was like, let me just see if I can try to do something that's uncomfortable, because that's where growth comes from. And I slid in there. My toes went numb. My whole body went numb. And I was like, okay. But when you get out of a cold plunge, I'm that girl right now. I'm talking about cold plunging. So that's just like something that I'm loving right now. And then the investment.
When do you do it? Sorry. What's your routine? When do you do it? Because
I try to do it every day. Obviously first thing in the morning if I can, or just like after a workout. Because of course, if I have to be at the studio at 6, I don't get up at 5 to cold plunge. I just do it like with the Texas heat. It's also amazing. But the benefits that I feel, I'm a very anxious person by nature, and that like kind of release is so good for somebody like me that's just like very high energy, anxious. It really like settles you into your own body, because you have to tap into your breath, right? Like you're just deep breathing the whole 3 to 4 minutes. So that's something that I really loved. And then I just have to circle back to, if you invest on travel and retreats or something financially that's investing into you taking time outside of your life, or even like a conference or going to like getting out of your norm to go learn something. Of course, we all just like love a girls trip, guys trip, traveling, but like if you can go somewhere either solo or I actually go solo a lot, because it's like, then I really have to put myself out there in a new group. But I'm such an advocate for finding kind of continued ed opportunities.
Oh, well, this has been amazing. Wide-ranging conversation. For the last little bit, do you have anything else to share with the audience? The floor is yours.
Of course, I would love to have you at class, but I think if you're listening from a place that's not Dallas, or you already love your gym or your fitness routine, try to shake it up. Like, I'm just going to challenge you to like do something different. Like if you are a lifter, go try a yoga class. I think variety is kind of the spice of life, as they say, right? And then, but of course I would love to have you in one of my rooms. You can follow that on Paige Forrest. And I'm just really thankful to be here. Literally just bumped into you at a coffee shop and now here we are. But that's how life works, and the alignment felt right. So I'm excited to have been here. So thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And you already mentioned your handle. Talk to people about other handles, and then classstudios.com, I assume, to get to. Yeah,
Paige Forrest with 2 R's is my personal handle, and then class_studios is where you can find Class Studios on Instagram. And then it's class-studios.com. But just give us a Google. We'll show up. Class
there
Studios.
It is, everyone. Yeah. Paige, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett.